Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. The clock is ticking toward the November 4th election, and our goal today is to make sure you're prepared to let your voice be heard. My first guest is Neil Albrecht, Executive Director of the City of Milwaukee Election Commission. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning, Andrea. Thank you for having me on the show.
It's my pleasure. You're the perfect person to have here today, of course. The general election being right around the corner. And you're here to make sure that people are up to date on everything they need to know. And many people have voted time and time again, but we can all be reminded of some of those very important things. So let's start off by explaining what the role is of the Milwaukee Election Commission.
Sure. We oversee elections. We administer elections in the city of Milwaukee. So that's every aspect of election, from registering voters to mailing absentee ballots to managing the city's 193 voting sites.
And the board is actually comprised of 3 commissioners that are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the Common Council for 4-year terms.
That's correct, and they represent the 2 primary political parties.
Alrighty. And so we know that for this election, Wisconsin voters must show an acceptable photo ID before they can vote. So, of course, we're going to spend some time talking about that specifically, but let's first go over the basics. On election day, what are the voting hours?
On election day, you can vote anytime from 7 a.m. until 8 o'clock p.m. And it's always important to note that if you are in line at 8 o'clock p.m., you'll still be able to cast a ballot in the election. So don't be discouraged. For example, if you're worried, well, I'm not going to get to my voting site till just before 8 o'clock, will I still be able to vote? You will still be able to cast a ballot.
All right. And the most important question, who in fact is eligible to vote?
Any person who meets the qualifications to vote. So that would be, they have to be 18 years of age on election day. They have to be a resident for registration purposes of the city of Milwaukee for 28 days prior to the election. They have to be a U.S. citizen, and they cannot be serving probation, parole, or extended supervision for a felony conviction. There's a lot of confusion around that last qualification in particular. A lot of people unfortunately believe that if they have ever had a felony conviction, they're not able to vote. It is important to note that if they are off paper or have completed their probation or parole, their voting rights are reestablished and they can vote in every election.
I'm very glad that you clarified that. Thank you. And so for those people who haven't voted in the past 4 years, they in fact need to re-register. And also individuals who are new voters or people who have moved, so they don't have the same address they had from the last time they voted. They all need to be registered again.
Right. We call this the Be Prepared election because with voter ID in particular, we want voters to be as prepared as possible going into November 4th so that they have a positive voting experience. Confirming your registration is definitely one of those key steps. So even if they haven't moved, but they haven't voted for a while, it's good to confirm their voter registration. And they can do that through our website. But if they have moved since the last time they voted, or if they've had a name change, like if they got married, they will need to re-register, complete that registration process all over again.
Okay, and there are many ways that people can register: by mail, they can even stop by any Milwaukee Public Library, a couple other ways.
That's correct. That is only up until Wednesday, October 15th.
Okay.
But they can, the easiest, I think, is to stop at any Milwaukee Public Library, because there's usually one in every neighborhood, but they can certainly do it by mail as well. For voter registration purposes, it is important to note that they'll have to provide some sort of proof of residence document, and that being a document just proving their name and that the address that they're using for registration purposes. There's a whole list of acceptable proof of residence documents. Some of them popular, like ID, if their Wisconsin driver's license or state ID happens to have their current address on it. If they've already updated it, a lot of voters use that. But also things like a utility bill with your name and address on it, a bank statement, any communication actually, any letter issued by any unit of government. So something from workforce development, something from the IRS, something from Veterans Administration. Any one of those documents would meet the proof of residence requirement.
Okay, and that is to register. So
That
we
is
want
to
to make
register.
sure that that's clarified. So absentee balloting begins October 20th and goes until when?
Early voting, in-person absentee balloting does begin Monday, October 20th and runs through Friday, October 31st. For the city of Milwaukee, the hours are going to be Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay.
And we encourage, for anybody who's concerned about their schedule on election day and that a conflict may emerge that might prevent them from voting, we encourage them to come on down and vote early for the election. Go ahead and cast your ballot.
Okay, and Wisconsin is a no excuse absentee voting state, which means that you can vote by absentee ballot for any election for any reason, and that includes convenience. So
That's great. And there's early absentee voting. You can also request an absentee ballot by mail. And as long as you submit that request by the Thursday prior to the election, you'll get your ballot in the mail and have plenty of time to return it for it to be counted in the election.
all right, Neil, and quickly we have to talk about the fact that all Wisconsin voters must show an acceptable photo ID this time around. What type of photo ID will be acceptable for voting?
Well, there's a number of different acceptable photo IDs. I'd say probably the most popular in terms of what most voters may have available to them would be a Wisconsin driver's license, a DMV issued state ID, a passport, or a student ID.
Okay.
Also, with the driver's license and the state ID, if they're just applying for one now, the receipt that would be issued to them by the DMV would also meet the photo identification requirement.
Okay.
One somewhat confusing nuance to this is that photo ID does not need to have your current address on it. So don't worry about that, as long as you're already registered to vote. And it can also be expired for as much as 2 years prior to the election. So bring that photo ID. You're going to have it with you in order to get a ballot on Election Day.
All right, and we should mention also that individuals who are in need of any type of photo ID so that they can vote, they are being provided free at any DMV. And so if they don't get that photo ID back in time, you have mentioned you can use the receipt that you received from the DMV. That is suffice.
Right, very important statement that any person who doesn't have one of those photo IDs that we just addressed can go to any DMV office and receive a free state identification card. It's important that that is what they ask for when they appear at the DMV offices. I would say it's a good idea to either review the DMV's website or call the DMV in advance just to make sure you have all the necessary documents with you to be able to get that state ID card while you're there and don't have to make return trips.
Yeah, and what I love most about the Election Commission, you guys are there to answer questions that people have on a daily basis, not just Election Day. So the phone number people can call for more information about anything that you've mentioned?
They can call 414-286-VOTE.
All right.
286-VOTE, or they can visit our website. A lot of information on our website. There are a few other acceptable photo IDs that they might have, but also if they do need to register on Election Day, they can review the entire list of documents that they would be able to use.
Okay, and your website, milwaukee.gov/election?
That's it.
All right, thank you for stopping by.
You bet.
You shared
Thanks
some
for having
great
me on the show.
information. Neil Albrecht is the Executive Director of the City of Milwaukee Election Commission. Again, log on to milwaukee.gov/election or call 414-286-VOTE for more information on anything that we've discussed today. When we return to Our Issues Milwaukee, we'll meet a Milwaukee County Board Supervisor who will tell us more about the county's plans to provide free rides to individuals who need to get to the DMV to obtain a free ID. We'll talk to County Supervisor Khalif Rainey right after this.